Welcome, everyone, to our latest edition of Business to Business, our regular interviews with Tigers partners in order to find out a bit more about their business and the people who are driving both the business and their partnership with the club forward. And we're lucky enough today to be joined by Richard Carter, Managing Director of Retail at main club partner Topps Tiles. And kind of firstly, on behalf of everyone listening and watching, Richard, thank you for giving up your time and welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, Mark, and brilliant. Looking forward to looking forward to a bit of a Q&A.
It's all safe. You're in safe hands. Don't worry. Rich, let's talk a bit about you and kind of your journey as such. What was your pathway to getting to where you are today within the role at Topps Tiles?
Yeah, so I've been in retail kind of 30 odd years now. You know, I left university and did a graduate program with Asda, and then I've stayed in retail. And I've worked my way through the ranks. I started, kind of in a department role in Asda, and then worked my way through to probably the biggest role in terms of scope was director of stores at Currys, and that was 2.2 billion in sales back in the day. I've also done a little bit in pubs, which is a personal hobby of mine. It's definitely up there in terms of the stuff that I enjoy, food and drink. But I've been at Topps now for 12 years. Started as an ops director, looking after the store operation, broadened the role to take on the whole supply chain piece, and then broadened the role again to take on the role of managing director. So looking after everything to do with the brand, everything to do with the strategy that is involved in Topps Tiles. So as a group, Topps has kind of the commercial arm of the business, the digital arm of the business, but I look after the omni-channel bit, looking after the website as well as all things stores. And it's been a fantastic journey with a good business.
If you don't mind me putting you on the spot, you talk about retail as a sector and your varied roles within it. Is there a consistency between the sector as such, the product is the new? So, for example, a sports club, typically 80% all operate the same, and then there's the 20% nuance of the sport, the people, where you are at. So is it the same in the retail organization or the sector as such?
Yeah, look, retail is really a people business. So, it's about making sure that you're engaging the people with a really compelling message, ultimately to serve the customers brilliantly. There's kind of two types of retail that I've experienced. There's what you call the process retail. So let's talk about, Asda and the supermarkets. And this is about getting the product on the shelf for the customers to choose and getting the customers through the till as quick as possible. And then at the other end of the spectrum is where Topps are. So we're a full service business. So the customer comes in with an idea about the project that they want. And our job is to give them some real inspiration, some real information to help them make the best possible decision about their dream project, how their product is going to look. So it's quite different. So we focus a lot on giving the guys the right information, giving them the right service culture, focusing around, be welcoming, focusing around be engaging, and then focusing around be remembered. Because often when you buy tiles, you don't turn up in the shop and go, I'll have those. It's a process over a period of time where you'll visit probably other competitors and visit the store a few times and research online. So actually the be remembered bit, this connection between the colleague and the customer, is really important for us, and we're really proud of the scores that we do. So it's an interesting place to be. So to your point, retail is similar. It's a people game, and ultimately it's about driving the numbers. But the reality is there's a different playbook depending on which sector you're in.
Yeah, and you touched on it there in terms of culture. Culture drives it, doesn't it, as such? And I suppose for you that the difference between a Currys is somewhat there's an impulse purchase there, and a bit like cars, houses, and renovations, decorations as such. The impulse started a long time ago and has been justified, I suppose, really. So how do you build culture over time if that's how you want to be remembered as a business?
Yeah, so our culture is quite simple. We've been through, kind of the whole piece where you've got 8 or 9 things that make up the culture of the business. And actually we work on a phrase now. And the phrase, I think encompasses all that we're trying to do. So, we are small teams in our branches, in our head office, our support centre. We're very small teams. So we're small teams who want the best for each other, who are inspiring customers through our love of tiles. So small teams, who want the best for each other. It's a team game. We want to work well together, inspiring customers to give them their dream project. And through our love of tiles, that's the passion for the product that we sell. And that kind of encapsulates the value and the culture of the business, really. And tries to also be a little bit explicit about how we want to operate and how I'm comfortable leading the business.
Yeah. And the value and the culture underpins them. But what's the kind of the next stage for Topps as such, and where are the not the growth but the focus areas for you, whether that's core product or what have you as such? What does the next kind of 3-5 years look like in your sector?
Yeah, so our sector is really interesting at the moment. So the COVID has been quite interesting for us because the love of home has come to the fore and people are being a bit more adventurous. So our strategy is kind of twofold. So the first bit of the strategy is about organic growth. So serving our customers better. We're a business that has two key customer groups, the homeowner and also the trader, the person that fits. So it's about trader frequency, about share of wallet, about making sure that they, turn left to Topps rather than right to some other tile shop in town, because there's a proliferation of tile shops in town. We then focus about getting the brand and getting the brand recognized. So really, sponsorship forms a part of that, but really getting Topps Tiles front of mind. We've got really good prompted awareness and we've got very, very good unprompted awareness. When people say, name a shop that sells tiles, we score way higher than all of the specialists and are right up there with the Sheds, your B&Qs, your Wixes and all of that. So really focus on the brand and really focus on driving visitors through an omni-channel offer. So our website is award-winning and our store experience is as good as you get, more than 90% on an overall satisfaction basis, 5-star reviews rather than 1-star reviews. Then we focus really hard on making sure that we are selling in the right way in terms of our service and also making sure that we're getting that extra trade. Then on the other side of the business where we're looking at small shoots, is bringing categories that are associated with the products we sell. So, we sell luxury vinyl tiles. So, a warm synthetic flooring that contrasts brilliantly with the tiles on the wall. We've just introduced shower wall panels. So, the large shower panels that fit around the shower, really good DIY fit, really easy to look at. Wood is something that we will deploy over the course of the next 18 months or so. So a small, high quality, inspirational wood offer that fits in with us as well. And there's a couple of other bits, splashbacks and areas like that. So when the customer comes in, if they're asking for this stuff, that's the stuff that we want to sell. So organic growth through just being brilliant at what we do, getting the brand right, getting frequency of visit right, and then focusing really hard on attaching products on the other end to grow share of wallet and give the customer one-stop shop for the project they're looking for.
And I bet your Pinterest is absolutely flying, isn't it?
Pinterest is so important for us. So, in social media, 2/3 of our visits, clicks, engagements is on Pinterest. Yeah. And it's just so important for us, followed then by Instagram, kind of a visual media, and then Facebook, and TikTok ultimately. But definitely, Pinterest is really important for us. And we do pretty well. We've got some good boards out there and some good engagement.
Yeah, I bet. Focus a bit on you, Rich. We wanted to spend a bit of time talking about you. What, being blunt, what do you like to work for? What are your values? And if I wanted to work for you, what are the principles that I'd have to adhere to, you or by default Topps as a business?
Yeah, so I guess part of being the leader is you setting the agenda. So part of the culture I've already touched on is also the way I do business. But, I've kind of got 3 non-negotiables. So the first is be on time. I'm a real stickler for, if we say we're going to start at 10 o'clock, be there at 10 o'clock. So I find it really disrespectful if someone's there after 10 because they've made the decision that their time is more important than the collective of the group that's there. It also creates disruption at the start of the meeting and that loses energy. The second for me is about be committed. So, the whole mantra about work hard, but also work smart. So focus on what we are doing and then be committed to that end result. be committed to drive performance, be committed to hit budget, be committed to do what we need to do. And then the last one, which is a bit more nebulous, is about doing the right thing. So for me, it's when your heart and your head are connected in terms of making a decision, even if it's not the easy one, even if it's not the one that you're expecting, and it's quite tough on, either individuals or situations, just do the right thing. And you know what it is, even if it's difficult. Add to that, I'm pretty approachable, and I try and get out of the ivory tower, the office, and get to the coalface, get to the stores, and have good conversations with the people that are doing it every day. It's a way of staying connected between the strategy of the business, what we're trying to achieve, and what the reality is, down in the important bit, with the guys that are serving our traders at 7:30 in the morning, and the guys that are then inspiring our customers at 2:00 in the afternoon. So it's really important for me to do that stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. And interesting. And you talk about people, and it's the behavior within people, and the mindset of people. The bit that always fascinates me, not morbidly as such really, but around when something doesn't go to plan, and I won't call it failure, is more of a learning opportunities. How do you deal with them as a person, but also when it's a team member that's done it from that point of view? And I suppose that brings it back to the culture of the business and you as a leader, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, I think so. So, everybody makes mistakes. It's the reality of life. There is no perfect person. There is no perfect leader. There is no perfect manager. They don't exist. So what's important is to acknowledge it, understand it, learn from it, and make sure we grow as individuals, with regard to that. So, some of the best things I've ever done are born out of the worst outcome that could have happened. So, you make a mistake on a service initiative or, on a big project. Actually, you can learn from that, build on that, make sure it doesn't happen again, and work forward. So, I see it as a huge opportunity. There's a side to that as well. So, if people keep making the same mistake time and time again, there's a line, almost like the third strike rule for me. But we all make mistakes. It's how we grow, how we learn, and what we do in the future to avoid making that mistake that's really important to me.
I might have just made this up, but it's something like fail fast, learn often, isn't it? I think is the adage off the back of that.
Yeah, we talk a lot about failing fast in the business. Actually, it's quite a mantra for us. So, when we launch an initiative, it's not working, fail fast, but learn from it.
Yeah.
And often, you'll find there's 2 or 3 roadblocks that are creating the issue with regard to that. And it might be cultural, it might be the way it's been communicated, or it might just be it's the wrong thing to do. And you can find all of those 3 things. But actually, fail fast, review it. So we talk about PIRs, project implementation reviews. Once you've done that, the idea might be right, just the way we went about it was wrong. So you can learn from that. And having a group of people that you can talk to about that didn't work, but what if, I think is just really important, and hearing the right thing. So sometimes people hear what they want to hear as to why, because it's kind of them trying to work through, well, I knew this was wrong because, but actually if you genuinely listen, you'll find out exactly what the issue was and normally put it right.
Yeah. And it sounds you have like a structure for that by the sounds of it, or, is it a mind dump review? Everyone gives up 2 hours and we go nuts, or is there almost like a process in place for you to review those things?
Bit of both, Mark, actually. So, a hot review is really important. So in the moment, what's happened, understand it quick, make a few notes, get, some idea of where we are, then evaluate the data, speak to some people. And then, we have a PIR that talks about, what element went wrong. So was it about the modeling in terms of, did it just not hit the data that we were expecting? Was it about the culture? So, was it just not received in the right way? So doing that review is really important, but doing a hot review is the most important bit in the moment. What's the situation? Make a few notes, get some consensus, and then move forward.
Fascinating. So by ways of openness, what's your biggest learning? I won't say a failure, but what's the biggest learning that you've had as part of your career that probably has molded you to where you are today as a person?
Yeah, I'll answer that slightly differently than you might expect. So my biggest learning is don't worry. So I used to spend a lot of sleepless nights pondering about an evaluation of an interaction I'd had earlier in the day or something I said that wasn't right. And I used to spend a lot of time in my mind role playing, that interaction and how it could be better. What I've learned to do is just stop doing that. It's wasted energy, it's wasted time, and you're looking at what ifs rather than what happened. So what I've learned to do is, if an interaction hasn't gone as well as I expected, or my contribution hasn't been received as I do, just ask some questions. It's just easy to have proper adult conversations with the individual rather than try and create an outcome in your own mind that just is never the right answer. So that's one of the most interesting things for me is, just don't worry, be a bit happy. It's a great lyric anyway, but don't worry, be happy, and actually ask some questions and seek to understand why didn't that work, and then work forward along those lines.
It's interesting you say that, because you've had to make a conscious behavioral change as such, have you? And how easy was that? I mean, did it take you months, years to figure out? Because I think we've all been in that boat at some point, haven't we?
It takes ages, Mark, and it's practice. There's this whole thing around, the 30 times and you start to form a habit, and then that habit keeps building. I've had to, I am not the leader that I am now 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago. It's the culmination of experience. It's the culmination of trial and error. It's the culmination of success, actually. I started from pretty humble beginnings, but actually, if you work hard, focus on what you're doing, and really be open to learn, it's really important to how you develop. So I know a lot of people that are quite close-minded. I'm quite open-minded to this stuff. I also now don't take offense. People can say some stuff in the heat of the moment, and actually I'll evaluate what they've said and we'll pick it up in a quieter moment. Not sure I was always there. I used to take it quite personally. I used to respond back. I used to waste energy on the words rather than actually the point they were making. And it's all learned behavior, and it's really not easy. But in my 50s now, I'm still learning every day, because every day there's something to do better than you did yesterday, to work smarter rather than just elongate the day, which is how I used to work.
Yeah, it's enjoy the grind, isn't it? It's a bit about the destination, and if you don't enjoy the journey, you'll never you never reach the destination, do you? So
it's an Eddie Jonesism. We talk about, you've got to enjoy the grind, because a lot of the role that you do is repetitive, but how you choose to do it and how you choose to get interest from it is the really important stuff. So I love the grind, and then you can enjoy the bits you do like, because the grind is part of the day-to-day, it's part of the role, it's part of what you do. So, if you don't enjoy that, you'll never get to enjoy the bits that you really love, the bits that make your job, as good as it is.
Yeah. And a big part of, we know each other quite well, in your enjoyment is sport. You're a sports nut, and what have you, and bringing it to the partnership that obviously we have had for certainly the last 3 years, and moving forward for a number of many more years. As a marketing channel, with your professional and your sporting hat on, as a marketing channel, what does sport give you that nothing else can, to some extent, within your own marketing platforms?
Yeah, so if we start with my love of sport, there's an awful lot about sport that's the same as business. Yeah. You kind of train, you've got an outcome, you've got targets, you've got things to deliver. So I've learned a lot in my business career from sport, and watching sport, and being close to how it works. There's loads of synergies, and hearing people speak. Some of the coaches, Aldi Waters has done a bit of stuff with us. I just find it really interesting in terms of the synergies that you can translate from business into sport. In terms of the sponsorship stuff, the brand is really important for us. It goes back to this unprompted awareness. So the more we can get exposure, with a winning culture and a culture that fits with us, and we have a really good fit, I think, as businesses. the more we can do that, the more important it is to get this unprompted awareness. And obviously, a winning season last year, a trophy winning team is just amazing for us. But the reason we got into sponsorship is really about, how do we get this unprompted awareness? How can we get a return on investment? And then how can we create a connection between our colleagues and your organization, so the organizations feel a part of each other? And that's been the real success for us, really. So, we're definitely seeing, we're getting good exposure in the press, we're getting good exposure on TV, the ITV games, million viewers against Sale as one of the first games on ITV was brilliant for us. The whole piece around, the connection between our businesses, you're in our box at the moment, I think I recognise in the background, and just having that connection where we can get colleagues to the game, to see the culture, to experience the noise, to experience the game, even if they're not rugby fans, it's all about the event, just really works for us. And then the return on investment, it's been good. We've got exposure in terms of our investment in being the main partner that we wouldn't have seen if we hadn't have done that. So it's been a really interesting journey for us. And, there are a lot more Tigers fans across our organisation than there were 3 years ago, that's for certain.
and I suppose actually, ROI is something everyone has to get out of a partnership as such, really. But and you might refer back to the Tigers piece. Is there anything that surprised you most out of this partnership? Or, we were very clear on what ROI and the expectations were from the start, so I get that. But is there anything that's kind of a bit left field that you didn't expect to come from this that has?
I think the word you've just used, partnership, what I think is brilliant is, our marketing team and your team, really, really working together for the best outcome. How can we get the best outcome from the players in terms of, the contractual stuff, in terms of the stuff that they do for us, but also a genuine want for you guys to add value.
Yeah.
And that's rare. So, lots of organizations don't really activate on this stuff that well, and that might be both sides. You have to put a bit of time in, you have to put a bit of understanding in. And if people don't seek to understand the outcome and what people want from it, then you can end up with it being a bit of a tick box exercise, and it's just the name on a shirt rather than a partnership to strive for brand awareness, which is our aim, really.
Yeah, and you're very kind saying things like that.
It's true, Mark.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, unprompted. Now, Rich, really fascinating. Great spending a bit of time with you. One kind of last question, kind of to wrap it up as such from you. And, you can talk about career, personal, sport, whatever that may be. If anyone's listening to this and was after, not after your job, that sounded really bad, but the aspirational piece off the back of it, what one book would you recommend someone reading, picking up, buying, whatever that may be, that's going to give them something of value to deal with your career?
Yeah, it's a book and a podcast, and you tipped me onto it actually, Mark. So this is back in your direction. So High Performance by Jake Humphreys and Professor Damien Hughes. Lessons from the Best on Becoming the Best. It's a fantastic book. But the podcast, it's an hour and 10 minutes of absolute gold every Monday, with some people that you wouldn't expect to hear from, so actors, celebrities, as well as professionals in the field, as well as sport. Steve Borthwick's been on, Kevin Sinfield's been on. Fantastic podcast and a really good book, and I'd heartily recommend it. I've learned loads, and things like non-negotiables. I used to have those, just wasn't conscious that they were really my non-negotiables, and it makes you think about what's important to you and how you can open your mind and do some stuff different, really.
Yeah, I'll double down on that as well. It's well worth a listen. And I say, I think for you, it's you've summed it on that. It's stuff that you might be doing, but you didn't frame it that way or realize you were doing it as such, really. But Rich, thank you. Absolutely fascinating. Appreciate your time. You're a busy guy. We see a lot of you, and it's just interesting for you to share your story, people to find out a bit more behind the surface of Topps Tiles, I think, really. And the takeaway from that and you and what have is that, we're all people businesses, aren't we, really? And the people drive the culture that drives the success. And if you get the virtuous circle right, everybody wins to some extent, don't they? So yeah, thank you. Rich,
A pleasure, Mark, and thanks for the opportunity. Cheers.